I'm joined by Ariel Garten, is a neuroscientist, former psychotherapist, and a co-founder of Muse, what we're going to be talking about today, the world's leading brain-sensing EEG headband. Muse has helped over 500,000 users globally train their brains, reduce stress, and improve sleep quality. But what makes this even more powerful is the scale. Muse has collected over 1 billion minutes of brain data, making it one of the largest EEG datasets in the world, with more than 200 third-party research studies and collaborations with institutions such as Harvard, NASA, and the Mayo Clinic. So Ariel sits at the intersection of neuroscience, technology, and human potential. She has taken something deeply internal, meditation and mental training, and made it measurable. In a region like ours, where stress is high, sleep is compromised, and performance expectations are relentless, this conversation is not just interesting, it is necessary. Ariel, I'm so grateful you're here.
I'm so glad to be here with you today. Hello, hello.
Hi. So I want to jump right in with a couple of questions on measurement, because I mentioned this in the introduction, and we've talked about this a little bit, you and I also. So you took something like meditation, something traditionally subjective, and made it measurable, right? So what happens neurologically when we give people real-time feedback on their brain activity? Does measurement accelerate neuroplasticity, would you say?
Measurement can absolutely accelerate neuroplasticity.
Love that.
So we all know that as soon as we measure something, we can understand it and change it. If we never had mirrors, we would just go around with unkempt hair and, funny things on our face, and we'd never know. You look in the mirror and you say, oh, I better fix my hair. I better wipe the schmutz off my face. I better do the things now that I see it. Yeah. And our neurological processes, what goes on in our brain, is something that we have extremely limited access to. We live with the content of our minds all day long, but we rarely stop to reflect on that content. So that's what the practice of meditation teaches us. And we don't have a good understanding of how we're performing, what our brain is doing, and how to improve it. So when you use tools like Muse to be able to measure what is going on inside your brain, when you're able to see data, get feedback, and make better choices, you invariably improve.
Amazing. And I haven't had the chance yet to use it, but I'm so looking forward to do it. I've always been fascinated with anything to do with the brain, and that's why this conversation is particularly important for me. I always talk about having, one of the worst things that I could imagine that would happen to me, because obviously I take care of my physical body, and that, in several ways can help my brain. But one of the things that scares me the most about, accelerating years and, growing older in chronologically is what happens to the brain. I see and work with clients that, either have parents or themselves, don't know where they are, or they end up with situations that are compromising. Someone has to take care of them. They're completely reliant. They don't know who what their name is sometimes. So that is, for me, is unfathomable. So it's something that I struggle with, and something that I have to deal with myself. For me, but also I don't think I'm alone. There's a lot of people that are kind of, worry about what happens to their brain, and we know now that meditation plays a crucial role in keeping your not just your nervous system, but also your brain healthy. So it's incredible what you're doing.
Yeah, it's amazing that meditation, which was previously thought of either as an amazing spiritual pursuit, as a source of calm, or just something that's weird and woo-woo, it's actually been demonstrated in the literature now over and over again to make real impactful change in the brain. There's an amazing study by Dr. Eileen Luders, and she looked at long-term meditators, defining long-term as somebody who'd been meditating for 5 years or more. Mm-hmm. And she did scans of their brains and identified that people who were long-term meditators had brains that looked 7.5 years younger than non-meditators.
Yeah.
So it's extraordinary. It makes real impact in your brain. Meditation can thicken your prefrontal cortex. It increases the corpus callosum thickness, the communication between the left and right hemisphere. It can increase the density of your neurons in your gray matter. It really has tremendous impact on the function of the brain itself, as well as the structure of the brain. And so
those of us, yeah, so those of us that do meditate, I mean, we feel the relaxation, but we're not able to measure what's happening in our brain, right? So we're not able to see all of the other benefits that are happening there. And it's a practice that requires patience. So tools like the Muse, like what you've created, facilitates that. Because even with me, like I consider myself fairly disciplined as far as, what my health, what I do, and everything. My days are structured. I know what I'm doing, all different times. I still struggle to fit meditation into all of the other things that I do. So I have to really be intentional about it. And that's the other exciting aspect for me of having Muse, is that it will just be scheduled into all of the other stuff that I do for my existence, for my biology. And that would be part of it, just like I do my gym time or my cycling time or whatever, that I do. So I'm excited to experience the additional benefit that something as amazing as Muse can do for me.
Thank you. Yeah, so for somebody with an existing practice like you, Muse allows you to get real-time feedback. So during your meditation, you know how you're doing. So in real time, it's guiding and correcting you and keeping you in that state of focused attention. And after the fact, you get data. So you get to see what your brain was doing, what your brain, your heart, your body were all doing during the course of the meditation. You see the change in your brainwave activity. And doing this for an expert meditator gives you novel insight, motivation, and really helps you stick with it. For a novice meditator and people who've never meditated before, it helps you start the practice. So many people sit down and say, I'm going to meditate today, and their brain bounces all over the place. They're like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is frustrating. And they get up and they stop doing it. So Muse was built to give you real-time feedback and guide you so that if you're a novice, it shows you what to do and guides you into that state. And then it's giving your brain reinforcement. So it's classically conditioning your brain to say, yep, this is the state. This is where you should be. Stay there. Yeah. It's kind of like going to the gym and working with weights and working with a trainer versus just kind of trying to do stuff to get more fit.
Yes. Not knowing what a gym is even, That's amazing. And this leads me directly to the next bit that I'm particularly excited about. So you've collected all that data. And I know that you've done lots of studies and you've written many papers on all sorts of different aspects. We're going to talk about one or two of them later on that are specific for the Middle East and for sleep. But what did you, from all of the research that you've done, what stands out for you that you would like to share with us on findings when you have all of that data that you've collected?
Sure. So there are over 200 published research studies with Muse, both we're using it as an EEG tool out in the wild by neuroscientists, as well as using it as a sleep tool and a meditation tool. Mayo Clinic has done many studies with Muse, starting using it for breast cancer patients, demonstrating it improved their stress and fatigue during the cancer care process. They used it for long COVID, demonstrating that it significantly improves long COVID symptoms and cognitive dysfunction. And they even used it with their own doctors, demonstrating that it reduced burnout by 54%, improved cognitive function and resilience. So, there's tremendous benefit from this act that really can be seen both in a healthy population and, you referenced how fast-paced life is in your region. And so, the doctor in the emergency room at a hospital using this device managed to reduce stress and burnout by 54%. So that's it.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. That's pretty awesome. So describe the device for us a little bit.
Sure.
What is it? How do you wear it? How does it work? Just give us like a brief from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Absolutely. So we have two different devices.
Okay.
I'll grab them both.
Okay.
So this is the Muse 2.
Okay.
So this has EEG sensors on the forehead and behind the ears, slips on just like a pair of glasses, and is able to track your brain and your heart rate in a similar way that a Fitbit might be tracking your steps or an Apple Watch might be tracking your PPG.
Right.
And it connects wirelessly to an app on your phone. The Muse 2 does brain training and meditation and gives you stats about your brain function. And we have a second device, Muse S. So this is the Muse S Athena. It is the same sensor montage. So there's sensors on your forehead and behind the ears, but it's in a soft form factor that you can sleep with.
Okay.
And the Muse S contains two different forms of sensors. Optical sensors that are tracking the blood flow to your brain, as well as electrical sensors that are tracking your brain waves. And it is a really complete brain health toolkit, giving you meditation, performance training, cognitive tracking, as well as sleep tracking and sleep intervention to help you sleep better.
I mean, they're all awesome, but that's the area that I'm particularly interested in as far as sleep is concerned, because I think it's understated. We take we take it for granted. And I think there's a lot of our adaptation happens there. And to know what your brain is doing while you're sleeping, I think that's absolutely phenomenal. Well,
It's
thank you for
ama-
that.
it's amazing. So sleep is one of the most underrated aspects of cognitive functioning. You know when you see a little kid and they haven't slept well and they're quite cranky and and sensitive and like cry at the drop of a hat. With adults, sleep really not only decreases our cognitive function, our physiological function, but also our emotional resilience. Lack of sleep. So improving and fixing our sleep is one of the best things you can do to both be able to improve your cognitive functioning today, as well as help you stave off age-related cognitive decline. So there's data that shows us that during sleep, your brain has something called glymphatic clearance. So it moves fluid and waste and toxins throughout the brain and moves them out, flushes them out of the brain. So deep sleep is critically important for moving excess material out of your brain, including amyloid beta. Amyloid beta is what accumulates in your brain to ultimately create Alzheimer's plaques.
Right.
So really good quality, deep sleep, enough of it, long enough, deep enough, is critical to help you both manage today and stave off age-related cognitive decline.
Yeah, that's so awesome, and I completely agree with you. And this is something that I've dedicated almost all of my career to kind of focus quite a bit on sleep. Um, from a brain perspective, that's obviously not my area; it's just a passion of mine. But from a physical perspective, from the rest of the body, this is again where all your strength is built, where adaptation takes place. Sleep is crucial. It's the best form of recovery that you could possibly do, and this is where everything happens. Truly, you may go out during the day and shift weights and challenge yourself and go through mild stressors and do all sorts of things, but the real magic happens when you're sleeping. And I think a lot of us miss that, but it's shifting quickly. There is a lot more. That cool aspect of I don't only need 2 hours of sleep and I'll function fine, that's kind of fading away. And more now, the cool aspect is that I got my, this score, I got my 8 hours of sleep last night. That's the thing that people are bragging about more and more these days. So hopefully we're moving in the right direction. But in a place like Dubai, um, I mean, the region is highly sort of active. There's a lot happening. Obviously, people have seen from all over the world how quickly this region is growing and what's taking place here. So we see chronic sympathetic dominance a lot in this region, but specifically in Dubai is where I live. There's high ambition, long work hours, constant stimulation, a social jet lag, and there are obviously family commitments, religious commitments, like where we are right now in the holy month of Ramadan. So from a neurophysiological standpoint, what does chronic hyperarousal do to the brain over 5 to 10 years? And I'd love to kind of, get listeners to sort of, this would be like a wake up call for them, that it's all great, the sort of pace that we are at, but you need to do something about it too.
Yeah. So first of all, the pace sounds really fun,
Yes.
and it sounds like the kind of thing that's amazing and stimulating, and ultimately causes you to burn out.
Yes.
So burnout is a real thing. It's something that you feel, and it's something that really is a real impact in your mind and body. So in our brain, we have a little organelle called the amygdala, and the amygdala is responsible for our fight and flight. And when you are in chronic hyperarousal, when you chronically have large amounts of norepinephrine floating through acetylcholine, you're really ramped and like active, what you end up doing is increasing cortisol, which has a very negative impact in your brain. Cortisol has been shown to decrease the size of our hippocampus. The hippocampus is the part of your brain associated with learning and memory.
Yeah.
So that's not good news.
Mm-hmm.
Hyperarousal also increases activity in your amygdala, which can then lead to a permanent kind of on switch of your fight or flight symptoms, and which leads to activation of your hypothalamus and then your adrenals, and you have an entire hypothalamic adrenal cortical system that is jacked on and stuck on its on position. And everything you look at is causing you more and more reactivity because it is triggering your amygdala because you're jacked in this on position. And so in order to really combat this, we need to learn and train our brains and bodies to come into times of rest. And when you're really jacked, rest seems hard. It seems like something you're not supposed to do, like nobody's rewarding you for resting. But it's really what your brain and body need in order to be able to A, sustain the pace, and B, not burn out.
Because you could be tired and not able to fall asleep, for example. I hear that quite regularly.
Yep,
I
tired
think
and wired.
Yeah, tired and wired, exactly. And then obviously these things don't help a lot, when it comes to phones and scrolling and socials and that constant stimulation over everything else that you do. But the perhaps the part that I would be most interested to hear about, and I think most people, can neurofeedback meaningfully reverse that trajectory? If I continue to, meditate, focus on my brain health, is it possible that I'm able to reverse where I am right now?
Absolutely. So the first thing is noticing, listening to conversations like these and realizing like, oh, the pace that I'm going at is amazing. It feels great, but there's a cost to it. And then recognizing that there is a solution and something you can do. So you want to learn to down-regulate your physiological activity regularly throughout the day. So activities like meditation, where you stop for a moment, take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, dilate your blood vessels, calm your body, move from activation into rest and digest. And then at night, it can be very, very hard to fall asleep when you have cortisol running through your system and your brain is racing. And so when we built Muse's sleep tools, we both built a tool that tracks sleep as effectively as a sleep lab does. It's widely used by many, many researchers. And we built amazing tools to help you fall asleep. So there's something called the digital sleeping pill, and it tracks your brain activity.
I'll ask you about that, yeah.
Yeah, and it gives you guided audio that's designed to walk your brain from the state of alertness into a state of calm and sleep. And it's been demonstrated to reduce the amount of time it takes to fall asleep by 55%.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we have another feature called Deep Sleep Boost, which are little audio signals that you just hear from your phone, and they're timed to your own delta wave activity. So it's really personalized to exactly what your brain is doing. As you go into delta waves, it gives these tiny, tiny little audio signals that encourage your brain to sleep more deeply, increasing lymphatic clearance, deepening your deep sleep, deepening your rest and your relaxation.
And you're able to see those on your data, right?
Yes,
You're able to
we
see
actually.
that. Yeah. Oh my God, that's so cool. Yeah.
It's totally cool. So whereas with like an wrist tracker or a finger tracker, you might see the amount of deep sleep you get, which actually isn't that accurate because you can only really measure deep sleep by measuring brainwave activity.
Right.
Here we show you not just how much deep sleep you got, but how deep your deep sleep was. And then after you use this feature, how much deeper your deep sleep is, what the amount of delta activity you got during your entire sleep was. It's amazing. And people wake up feeling better.
I mean, everyone have experienced a good night's sleep, right? And that feeling in the morning is incredible. But it's they're, you know, especially in this part of the world, they're few and far in between. So there aren't enough of those days where you wake up fully recharged. Um, I mean, we obviously do try quite a bit, and there's a lot happening, as I was saying. But to have a device that meaningfully does that for you, and then guides you without you even realizing that you're being guided while you're sleeping to actually stay asleep longer and deeper, I think that's absolutely incredible. Because it's not just the falling asleep. Most people that I work with, they don't have a problem falling asleep. They have a problem not waking up in the middle of the night. Even though like they don't need to pee, there's nothing happening, but they're stuck to a particular time where their body wakes them up at that time. It could be a spike of cortisol, it could be a drop of blood sugar, I don't like whatever it may be in their system. And we try to track and see through CGMs and other trackers and see what's happening with their bodies. But would something like this help prevent those like unusual times of people? And sometimes they're exact times. I had someone yesterday, one of the clients, saying 2 a.m. every day. I wake up at 2 a.m. and I wake up, look at my watch, see it's 2 p.m., 2 a.m., and then I will go back to sleep. Like, so obviously the brain is involved in that. It's not just your physical body.
Yeah, so in situations like that, the digital sleeping pill functions both to help you fall asleep and to help you fall back asleep. So your client is very lucky that he can look at his clock and then fall back asleep. And that's actually normal. So as we're shifting into the second half of our sleep, so deep sleep happens in the first 4 hours of sleep. In the second 4 hours of sleep, when you're in REM sleep, it's normal to wake up for just a brief moment and then fall back asleep. That's how our physiology works in the second 4 hours. It allows us to be, a little bit alert in case there are lions and tigers.
Right.
We needed to have awareness. And so during REM sleep, you can wake up and then drop back into a dream. However, many people wake up in the night and then cannot fall back asleep because their mind then becomes engaged. They start thinking and worrying, and then they simply cannot fall back asleep. So there, the digital sleeping pill will actually wake up with you. So if you're wearing the Muse knows that you've woken up. It brings back in the same beautiful audio that helped you fall asleep the first time to help you fall back asleep. And this has been demonstrated to improve sleep quality by over 20%. So it works really, really well. If it works for you, like, it's incredible. And it will fundamentally shift the way that you sleep, and the amount of sleep that you get.
Amazing, amazing. Now, you have some exciting things happening. There's some new stuff coming, right? What are you working on now for Muse?
Oh, there's nonstop new stuff coming. So once you get a Muse device, all of the new features are all delivered in the app, so they keep coming. We have a smart alarm releasing in a month. So Deep Sleep Boost just released. Deep Sleep Boost we actually built with labs in Spain, the US, and Canada. The researchers approached us and said, we would like to build a deep sleep stimulation for older adults with mild cognitive impairment, because we believe that if we stimulate them in this way during the night, it will improve their cognitive function the next day. So we built it for the researchers, and then we were able to release it really just 3 weeks ago to the general public, so everybody gets like the latest research tools. We have Smart Alarm that's going to be coming up very shortly. So it looks at your EEG and wakes you up in the optimal window for you to be the most refreshed. And then we're constantly working on new things. We have research partners all over the world through which we're looking at things like nightmares. How do we help people reduce the amount of nightmares that they get? How do we use sleep and dreaming to boost creativity? We have a number of lucid dreaming studies going on with universities around the world. So as these tools get proven out, they come into the Muse app, and you get to experience kind of the latest that science has to offer to you.
That's amazing. And I'm so keen on more and more people finding out about this, because everyone is obsessed with their wearables, about their number of steps, their HRV, their VO2 max, their strain levels, etc., etc. But no one is talking about the operating system, like the main event. So having something like this that is so accessible, something that you can comfortably have on at night, that will help you possibly fend things such as Parkinson's and ADHD and Alzheimer's disease by just working and having your brain to become younger, and general dementia. Again, something that as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, something that is particularly scary for the families and for the individual that goes through it. And then you build all this life and you've done, and then you reach a point where you have to be dependent on other people to feed you and do all sorts of things like that. So I'm incredibly grateful for you to be here. Is there anything else that you would like to add to the listeners, specifically in the region, about the power that Muse brings to our sort of non-stop culture and community?
Yeah, what I really want to share is, there is no magic silver bullet. Nothing is going to magically make you not have dementia if that was your life trajectory and your genetics. However, there are things that you can really do today and right now to start to shift the curve and shift the trajectory, and both give you more empowerment today, more agency and ability to take control of your mind and your body, as well as help you improve the outcomes for tomorrow. So it's so tempting to just go with all the adrenaline and to just keep going with it. But if you take the time to actually stop and downregulate your system, it will give you the power and the capability to keep going in a way that's even brighter and healthier for you.
Amazing. One more question occurred to me really quickly. If someone at a later stage in life, would they still also benefit from Muse? So if someone is showing signs of dementia, if they're like beginning forgetfulness, things like that, would Muse be assistive?
So I referenced we have a lot of studies going on with people with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, etc., done by third-party researchers. Muse is not a medical device, so I can't say it's going to cure anything.
Just as a device that someone.
Yeah, but these researchers are showing that as they use it with people with various conditions, they are seeing benefit. So it's quite amazing.
So there's no age limit, basically. So you could use it any time to get some of the benefits, right?
Yeah, and in those studies where it's being used with people with mild cognitive impairment, there's often a caregiver that helps them put the device on and press go, either a loved one or someone younger in the household. And it's even acceptable and usable in those conditions.
Amazing, amazing. Well, again, I want to thank you again for waking up early for us on the other side of the world and being here. I'm so grateful for you, and I look forward to doing more of this and talk about all the other features in the future, and to supporting Muse in the region. So thank you so much for all the information, for the incredible guidance, and I think a lot of people are going to find this really, really helpful. So I really appreciate you, Ariel. Thank you so much.
Oh, my joy and pleasure. So nice to be here with you today. And hello to everyone out there. I wish you the most beautiful rest of your day.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you next time at the next Becoming Limitless episode. Thank you so much for listening or watching today. And see you again soon. Be well.